So it's a super busy day. I'm going to have very little time to just think beyond just do as far as all this goes. We're finishing clearing out the condo today. Like the guy is showing up at 3 to just pull and take everything out. So I'm super pumped about that, but I'm a little exhausted at the same time at the thought of it, because typically things like this are a little labor intensive, and although I don't mind doing a bunch of hard work, it's difficult sometimes to go from just working super rough and then continue doing the rest of the week like nothing happened. I ever tell you guys how much I like pickles? It's one of my favorite foods. My mom got me into them when I was a little kid as like a snack. She's a very health conscious woman. It's kind of like a healthy snack for a kid to just munch on all the time. I mean, I loved it for the pickle juice. I loved it for the pickles. I loved it for it was a very good pickle. I remember finding out that they made pickles in different types of ways. It blew my mind. Spicy pickles? What? That's insane. And just all of it. So, for those who can't see, this is my breakfast. So I get gochujang sauce, a tamago roll, I made it home, fried onions, some black bean, a little bit of cheese, some guacamole, some mayo, and another little bit of cheese with a giant naan. It's probably not the healthiest thing I could probably eat, but it's not the worst thing I could eat. I'm gonna get all this done because I need a lot of energy today because I will be moving quite a bit of things. I'm not even sure I'm gonna be able to fucking wrap my mouth around this thing, honestly. Pleasantly surprised. Yeah, for the most part, I'm excited. It'll be an end to a chapter that we've been working on for several years now, for some of you who've been following. I forgot the naan is like a garlic naan. This is really good. I imagine this just kind of looks like a mega burrito or a mega taco of some sort, but it's not. So anyways, the art show was really good. I'm super happy. I met a lot of really fun people. I met a lot of interesting ideas, individuals. I had some really interesting conversations about like social media and how like everything works. Rocky, what's going on, man? How you been? Ashad, hello. Lucifer, hello again. Esek. Hello. It's going well, honestly. Like I said, we had some interesting discussions with some artists about philosophies, and I'm originally from Trinidad, but I live in Maryland now. I just some interesting kind of discussions about like philosophy and people and how things work and how artists oftentimes try and chase like a high as opposed to like success per se, and then confusing what success really means for an artist. Like I've sold a lot of work. I've done pieces in public spaces. They're still there, things like that. So I would say that I'm a fairly successful artist. But if I were to go by the concepts of social media, I'm not surrounded by 80,000 people at a time watching me put little brushes across the page. It'd be cool if that happened, but I'm not that guy. And it could be an age thing. It could be all types of things. But I don't know. I think you shouldn't discard yourself as an artist because you don't play social media properly. It really is good, honestly. This is quite amazing. I'm deeply impressed by it. And it's probably one of the better ideas I've had for a while. It's just delicious. It's got kind of like that. I don't even know how to describe it. You've got a very like South Asian meets kind of like a Korean flavor to it. All in all, it's been a really good. It's been a good food week for me. Went to see my father and my stepmother last night with my wife, my cousin, and oh, cool. We have family in Brazil. Um, and we had a bunch of food. It was really good. We talked and we did all these things, and my cousin, who I only get to see every once in a while, we grew up like brothers, was just great. It was really good to see him. Like I hear it. I hear myself being one of those people who's like, my cousins, hang out with my family. It was great. I really love my family. And I'm like, I don't know that I've ever been that person who kind of says that. How old am I? I am about to be 43 next Monday. You're 18. Wow. I don't even remember what 18 was like, honestly. I know it happened because I've seen photos. Are you in a beach town? No, I'm not in a beach town. I am in Tacoma Park. It's like a hippie town, probably more so. 43. Wow, you look great. Thank you so much. When you are 43, I'm sure you will look way better than I do. So, where in Brazil are you? I drink beer. That's interesting. I used to drink a lot of beer, like quite a bit actually. Then I started having kind of health issues, so I had to cut back, and then eventually I just stopped altogether. It stopped being one of those things where I I kept doing it. Doing good, bro. Thank you. I appreciate that. You're 19. God. I'm trying to remember what my teen years were like at this point. I was making art, but I was mostly making art to just be kind of rebellious more than anything. So everything I made was like counterculture, a lot of like goth and punk stuff. I didn't want to do anything classical. I was not a portrait artist. I was not a. I was playing around with like a bunch of different a bunch of different mediums. So I was painting, I was printmaking, I was block making, I was doing everything. Photography. I had no real kind of direction on what the art that I wanted to do was going to look like. Definitely very different than now. But the whole time I was making art. So, you love beer. That's good. I was very fond of beer for a long time. And like I said, then when I started having problems with diabetes, I had to kind of stop. I just it just didn't work for me anymore. I was starting to have kind of an allergy to alcohol. Let me see. What is that mask over there? So that mask is my totem mask. So it's a traditional fight mask from Bolivia. And I've had it forever. I've had it forever. And it's a pullover mask. So they have this festival where all the gripes that you have for the whole year, they have basically like a fight night for all intents and purposes. And the people who have fights can fight like up to probably I think twice. Um, and then you have to just let it go. So all the pent up aggression, all the frustrations, all the things that people had are completely like it's like one. It's the purge essentially. But they're in a ring and there's lots of people around and the fight's broken up and there's all that stuff. But a lot of hold grudges afterwards and whatnot. And it's just kind of like an eruption of everything that has to happen. And so we would, you brawl basically, and then you let it go. I've been trying to think. I've been for a really, really long time a lover of lucha libre my whole life. I have so many masks of lucha libre. There's a bunch right here, actually. And one of my great friends decided when he was in Bolivia, because he's a famous muralist now, he's going to come back and give me a mask because he thought it like fit my style, fit a lot of paintings I'd done, and so it's always stuck with me. It has been my logo for many years, actually. If you look at my old radio show I used to have, Painter's Radio, I had the mask on in the promo and stuff like that. I've done shirts with it, I've done stickers with it, I've done all types of fun stuff as time has gone by. It's truly become a part of me, honestly. The town is like super crazy because it's like a hike up a mountain, and then at the top of the mountain they have the festival, and the day before the fight everybody puts on masks, lots of different types of masks, but masks similar to this, and they walk the streets and they have like a makeshift carnival of sorts. And it's just really beautiful. Like, I would suggest you look up like Bolivian Fight Festival and you'll see it. It almost looks like magical in the way that it's done. Speaking of which, so last couple of days I've felt a little kind of nervous energy about everything that was going on. So I made this little abstract painting. And a lot of times I do these, and I just do these for the sake of getting all that energy out. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like the fight night type of thing. Like you have to figure out how to take all that stuff that's going on inside of you and the way you feel and all the things that are going on and etc. and frustrations and self doubt and etc. and figure out a way to just kind of put it in something. You know, you can't. The idea is to just kind of allow yourself to make mistakes, make things ugly, make things beautiful. Just go for it. So I like those. I'm still working on a lot of my design stuff because, like I said, I've been super busy. Um, so I'm doing a bunch of designs still for the book, for the sketchbook. I've only got like 2 more pages left of this thing, so then I gotta start another one. For those who don't know, if you're new to the channel, I am a painter and illustrator, and so I do all types of fun, weird little stuff. But I also do a lot of figurative work, like a crazy amount of figurative work. To give you perspective on an actual painting I've done in the last couple of months. Ta-da! This is one of my actual paintings. Not to be left out by some smaller pieces that I've recently done. I did this like a week ago. I really love how this works. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that you like it. And so, yeah, I've been doing that recently. I have been doing this project recently where I've been asking people if you could to join my project. So it's gonna go in a book one day. So I'm asking people to either I've got a printout that people can print out for themselves and they can just fill it out and then hang it up and do whatever. But I ask they just take a picture and then send it to me so I can make it that way. I want to put it in a book one day. I've had a few art books as the years have gone by, and they've all made me pretty happy with how they've turned out. So I'm trying to noise. Yeah, they've all just kind of turned out really nice. So I'd like to do some more if I could. That would be fun for me. I think there's just like this level of I'm trying not to just be busy for the sake of busy, but sometimes like that's what you do. Sometimes you're just busy because you're like, yeah, I don't want to sit still. And that's why I started doing the whole abstract thing. I was never really an abstract artist growing up. I was always trying to like draw and redraw people and hands and places and stuff. And I realized I didn't really care much for drawing places. I really, really liked drawing people and painting people. So I kind of focused more on that. I think a lot of people get caught up on the concept of thinking you have to be great at everything to start being good at something. And I don't think that's true. I think you'll get individual skills as you go. And then those all kind of come together to cultivate what your style is, all these types of things. Like I've been a painter for so long. I didn't get good at everything all at once. I got good at things gradually and individually. Understand you trained as well. Find that helps the mood and energy for all day. Yeah, I mean, you do have to kind of focus though. I think the skill of a lot of artwork and artists is from repetition and the will to the need to be better at what you're doing. I considered myself like I considered myself a master artist at what I was doing when a few years after I got good at painting what I imagined, then I was like, okay, I'm there now. And then people started kind of picking up my work and buying it and telling me they liked it. And I didn't really do it for the sake of that, but it did feel good. I won't lie to you and say, a pat on the back feels nice every once in a while. But I do say, much like I said with the guy at the art show, that shouldn't be the only reason why you do it. Like I paint the way I paint and how much I paint and all these things because I want to. And like it is a driving force in me to do so. And that's why I paint. Like it is less to do with accolades and achievements. I won't say it's always been that way. I definitely did contests and tried to emulate other artists and tried to learn how to do things by reading lots of art books and different techniques and different styles and tried to make art that looked like another artist and so on and so forth. And even subconsciously, like we all do it just a little bit. But eventually you do something enough, you start to do it in your own style. Even if it's similar to another style. So like I don't think anything's wrong with people who have to learn how to do things by tracing and doing stuff like that. I think the problem you run across is people who do that and then try to present it as it's their very own complete creation. I think that can be kind of a slippery slope. I think about people with like Jackson Pollock and stuff like that. He was like this really prolific, messy painter, and people have made fun of him since the beginning of time, basically. But he was really skilled at what he did. He was really skilled at what he did, and as the years have gone by, and I've seen so many people try to pretend like they're doing what he does. Who's your favorite artist then? I like Banksy for street art. Probably it's probably a tie between Jean-Michel Basquiat and maybe Frida Kahlo. Honestly, if we're gonna go with the big names that people would know. Those would be some of my famous ones that people would know. The ones people wouldn't know would be, or at least I don't think they would know, would be like uh, Theo Ellsworth. Theo Ellsworth is one of the most beautiful creative artists I've ever run across. People in art school in the 90s flipped out when I go from realism to abstract and back. Various explanations, music, film. A lot of these people now have all the art institution jobs and shows, says Frank. Yeah, I mean, people don't. I think people forget that, like, you look at Picasso. Picasso was one of those painters that made thousands of artworks. He made until he was like 90, I think. And his style changed periodically, like back to forth to forth to back, and so on and so forth. Like, it's kind of the journey of an artist, for the most part. Some of those people, yeah, some of those people definitely have those jobs. Like, I have friends who they frame art in galleries for a living. That's what they do. They make very simple black frames, and then with a crazy NASA-like science, they use all these type of levels and everything to hang all this artwork, and it's really something to watch. It's something to watch. It's kind of amazing. In the same regards, it's also kind of strange and feels kind of ridiculous sometimes because it's not something I would think to do with all the crazy details in which he puts forward, but in the end, like, it is amazing. I don't mind Banksy. I don't mind Banksy. I think Banksy is an interesting artist. I wonder if people would be as interested in Banksy's art sometimes if he wasn't so kind of controversial. Like, if he were less performative, would people care? Because his art's very smart. It's funny, even, but I don't know that it would hold the same weight with people. So that's kind of interesting. Another artist, MJ Lindo, incredible. Um, my friend Kat is an amazing artist. I think it's like as time goes by, you run across artists that are not within the publicated art sphere of time, and you start to realize like how incredible they are. Like when I think of social media, I think of all these amazing artists that I watch and the ideas they have and how then those ideas play in my mind and make me want to be a better artist. Like I love artists who make work that like I'm not sure how I would make that if I were to try and recreate it. Like I think that's fascinating to me that like there are people out there who make artwork that's just so beautiful and brilliant that you're not exactly sure how it comes together, you know? And that to me is amazing. My friend Kat is like that. She can just she's a sculptor and a painter and she's learning all these new techniques. She's trying to figure out everything as far as like even like 3D printing and stuff like that. She's just cool, man. I don't know. When I think of artists that I look up to, like that kid's fearlessness, uh, it is phenomenal. I mean, that's kind of what I liked about Basquiat. He seemed kind of fearless. Fearlessness to me is kind of one of those things that like artists try to do and show, and sometimes it comes off real jerky, and then other times it comes off amazingly. So I just like that, honestly. I feel bad for a lot of 3D artists because there's not a lot of 3D artists that I like really follow, and I enjoy 3D art. I think it's really interesting. I enjoy digital art. I think it's really interesting, but there's not a lot of it that I remember that I can recall like names and artists of. So it's kind of I've been making art the way that I've been making it for so long that I follow a lot of my contemporaries in that field because it's I don't know, it's just kind of interesting to see people with the same materials do something different than that you would do. Like given the same choices, if you can go left, right, or other, what do you choose? There was this podcast I was listening to about with Tande Thurston, who he's a famous writer. He has an AI that he's training, and he has people come onto his podcast and they talk and they train the AI and they do all these things. And he kept kind of saying that it's interesting to see like the ingredients basically because the ingredients make the cake. The cake does not make itself, which is pretty much like AI at its strongest aspect. Like it's not making anything new. So I look at that sometimes and I just don't I don't know. I feel like if I've seen one of those, I've seen all of them in a way. Like it's very few occasions that I find anything that's insanely amazing that comes out of that stuff. I think Banksy is really interesting because Banksy at least does different things, and he does things that are topical. So it changes as it evolves, which is very beautiful. 12-year-old, I found a Banksy 12 years ago. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. I found a Banksy C3PO on Mack Avenue here in Detroit. Got out of the car, took a photo. My car would not start back. Owner of the building kept checking me out. Later, they cut it out of the wall. Yeah, I've heard about that. I'm sorry that happened to you with the car wouldn't start. But I've heard about that. I've heard that people are like, they're chiseling Banksy's work out of public walls, which is insane. Like to see someone like cut down a stop sign and then walk down the street because Banksy tagged it. Like it's just, it's so wild. Like I always joke with my wife that one day I want to have like patrons that fight over in their divorce, fight over keeping my paintings. Who gets to keep them? You know, like a real kind of like all out war, financial war that happens with it. I think that would be really interesting. It's not nice, but it would be interesting to me. I don't know, man. I think it's just fun. I think it's all fun. You guys want to see a sketchbook? I got a spicy sketchbook. You want to see a spicy sketchbook? We can do a spicy sketchbook. I haven't shown this one in a while. I'm still working on parts and pieces of it. So, spicy sketchbook. So, I've been working on this one for a couple years now. I have a lot of these half-filled type of things. And so, I was working on all these little kind of ideas, so to speak. These concepts, these weird little pieces and parts and everything. When I was in art school, we used to they'd have us draw, and in the drawings they would have us move around the room to draw people. And I didn't like to do that, so I would stay in the exact same space. So as the model moved around, I'd get these like insane perspective drawings that nobody else wanted to do. And so I found out that I was fairly good at drawing like people, and I was good at drawing like weird perspectives and everything. And so as time has gone by, I've done kind of little sketches and drawings and all these things of everything that's going on in my life as far as an artist goes. And like I said, these are just kind of line drawings and pinups that I did years upon years ago. And I keep adding to it as it goes by. It's kind of like one of those time passes and then you paint things. You guys should check out Laura Zombie. I think you'd really like Laura Zombie. And so you just kind of go from there. So when I'm doing these, I like to use a 3. I've gotten that question a couple of times now. Like, what pens do you use? So I use a 3. It's kind of a thick, chunky line. You can do thin lines, but if you turn it to the side, you get like a thick line. And I've always liked 3s. And these are from the graphic. It's from the Pigma Graphic 3s. That's what that is. So when I do these, that's what I do these with. I don't typically do these that often anymore, but in my time, I did a lot of them. So I have an entire art book actually devoted to just all the pinups that I did throughout the years. And like I said, it's not the only art that I do. So, but it's definitely one of the arts that I've worked on for a really long time. If you notice, I got really into the whole luchadora aspect a couple of years back. And so I started kind of integrating that with it and doing like crazy designs and street art and just there's so much going on. And like I said, it's a sketchbook. You don't need to have perfect put together sketchbooks. They're sketchbooks. They're not meant to be these finished kind of wild bits that you can pull out and then frame and then do whatever. Like they're meant to be messy. The purpose of them is to be messy. It's part of the interesting aspects in which you kind of come about and do these things. And like they're all crazy. I mean, these are weird little drawings. I'm not gonna lie and say that they're not. But in a lot of ways, like you have to be willing to make weird art sometimes. You're a good dude. Thank you, Rick. Thank you. And so sometimes you'll just do that, you know? You'll make artwork and it'll be fun and it'll be strange and it'll be a mess and you'll do mixed media and colors and everything and just be free, you know? Be free with all that stuff. It's creative. I like it. Thank you. That's kind of what it was supposed to be. I mean, it's meant to feel like you can just kind of fall fall into your drawings. Be a part of whatever creative mess you've come up with. And I think in that you'll find so much freedom in the ability with the rest of your artwork to do all these things. Because like I said, I can do them all. I can do pretty much the human form from any angle, any perspective, etc. It's a weird skill, but it's a useful skill in a lot of ways too, because I've made so much. I mean, I've sold art books full of these things, and I don't only do this obviously, but I do a lot of it. I mean, I'm very fun in that way. I called myself fun. I don't know. I think art is one of those things where like you have to be willing to make ugly mistakes, and you have to be willing to make make yourself laugh. You got to be willing to make yourself laugh at the artworks in which you're coming about, and realize that like all these things are for you to become a better artist in a lot of ways. So that's what you do. You just you go for it. You try different techniques, you try different angles, you try different color schemes, you try funky little collage work, you do everything. You got like 300 pages to just make a huge mess. And you should. And you should. You should figure out what you find interesting in the arts that you like, and what you find interesting in the arts that you don't like. I've seen so many artists throughout the years who they hate certain arts, but they don't know why they hate them, and they don't have a real reason for what they love or don't love or whatever. And I'm like, you just gotta feel it, man. You just gotta feel it. You gotta go forward and understand like art is like a circle. It's ideas that start and stop and go and end and move and etc. And you cannot give yourself time to just kind of, that's all in this one. You can't give yourself time to doubt every move you make. Serious amount of hours into this. Yeah, I mean, I go back to the sketchbook I'm working on right now. I mean, so for this I use my refillable ink brush pen. Just like that. And you just buy cartridges, and as you empty them, you unscrew it, pop them in, do like that. So I say this so that you can understand what I'm working on. So, I was rereading Moby Dick, because I really like books. I always have. Even before I really started reading them, I just liked looking at them. And so, I was always trying to kind of create something from like my idea of what the books were about. And of course, I read them, but you know, you're a kid. When you're a kid, you just collect things because you like collecting them. You want all of them, and eventually you'll get around to some point where you collect them and do things with them. But initially, you just kind of collect to collect. I mean, who cares? You don't care about half of the teams in a baseball card or, baseball card box or whatever, or football or hockey or basketball, or maybe you care about Pokemon. I don't know. But like, there's always like a couple of random things that are just kind of weird and obscure, and you collect them for the sake of collecting them. Like, I didn't love all the Fast and Furious movies, but I did watch all of them. Concepts. I didn't love every Wes Anderson movie, but I did watch all of them. So there is that. Do these little thumbnails. It's kind of just this thing that I've been working on for years, where I try to keep my mind busy so that I'm recreating all these weird kind of concepts as far as art goes. And then as I start to do that, then I start to kind of add things and change things and do things and make things really interesting. And yeah, Pac-Man and everything else that gets kind of stuck in there. But it's just kind of interesting. It's interesting to me, anyways. Excuse me. So yeah, go forth, young artist. Be amazing. Be incredible. Find your thing. You do not have to be young, per se. You can be older than me and still be a young artist. Just figure out what makes you happy, and then work on that, and it'll keep all that going for you. All right, I gotta go, Galeras. I got too many things to do today, but I appreciate you deeply. Thank you very much. I'll talk to you next week. There is an art video that will come out later this week. A bunch of art shorts. Please subscribe to the channel if you get a chance. I'm so close to 420, and I'd love to get up to 1,000. Actually, I'd love to get up to multiple thousands, so I can monetize this channel because I think it'd be fun. But it's very nice to meet all of you. I appreciate you. You're great and incredible. And yeah, if we get to 420, maybe we'll get to 500. Who's to say? Yeah. So have a good one. Paint her out. Ciao. See you next time. Have a good day. Bye.